ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ትችላላችሁ።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ ጥያቄና መልስ፣ የክፍል ስራዎች፣ ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁት አይነት በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ ከናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
Okay, now let's start our day. And I'd like to share my screen there. Please let me. Okay, can you see my screen there?
Yes.
Yes, so I would like us to start about corporate strategy formulation. That's our discussion for today. Yesterday we looked at the, more of the components of the corporate strategy. We look at the mission, the vision, the objectives, very important, the policy, goals and objectives, very important in strategy formulation. It's part of the strategy formulation process. So now having done that, I think now we can go to real now strategy formulation. And strategy formulation is basically, designing and developing the company strategies. Although here we're talking about corporate strategy, but it's the same, whether it is functional strategy, whether it is corporate strategy, whether it is divisional strategy, it's all strategy formulation. You may find small differences between functional and corporate, but all of it is just strategy formulation. There are a lot of similarities between. So now I'm going to close all your mic, then so I'm switching all your mic and then we are starting the class. Remember to use the chat forum in case you want to share. I've already put it on. So any issue that may arise that you need to be addressed, you can be able to place it there. So saying that strategy formulation, it's about the designing the, it's designing the strategies. Just a little bit, okay. It is, formulation is designing, coming up with the designing and developing the strategy. Of course, it means that you need, experts, people who understand, so that you can be able to, to have a good strategy that is being formulated. Now, in our previous discussion, we've seen the strategic management model, which is basically the strategic management process. There are 3 major steps: formulation, or maybe you can talk about analysis, formulation, implementation, and then a review. Now, in our case, strategy formulation starts with mission, objectives, vision, strategies, policies, which we've done, right? But we've not done much about the strategy there. That is the 3rd step. But we've done mission. I think we did that yesterday. We did vision, objectives, we did policies, we did goals, we did values. Those are key. in the strategy formulation process, very, very important. Now, there's also very important the environmental scanning that comes first, but I'm sure this has been covered in other forum. Introduction to strategy, I think even sometimes even change management, and most other strategic units, you've covered that. You've covered external and internal. I'm sure you've covered Pestel, covered industry analysis. The other day we did competitive advantage and capabilities. You must have come across, under resources, resource analysis that comes under the environmental scanning. That's basically the first stages of the strategy management model. So in our study, we're just more concerned about the strategy formulation. We may capture a little bit before and after, that is implementation and evaluation. But our concept here more is about the strategy formulation, which is sometimes it is from the second, maybe sometimes from the first stage up to the fourth stage. Let me see, I think I have a model here. Okay, I said there are three major steps, that is analysis, formulation, and implementation. So we are more concerned about the formulation. Now in this strategy management process, you can see, number one is situational analysis, very, very important. Number two is environmental analysis and capability analysis. That's whereby you check now on the, what are the forces within the environment? What are the forces outside the environment? That's the internal environment, the external environment, the global environment. And that's why you also do capability analysis, you do SWOT analysis, you do industry analysis, all that, to be able to establish what is the position of the organization? What does it have? Because strategic management is resource intensive. So you have to make sure that before you start the journey, you have all the required tools and equipment. We normally say that before you start any project, that's more in project management, before you start any project, make sure that all the resources are available. And if they are not available now, they are easily reachable, so that you don't start a project and then you stop it midway. Now, when you are painting a house, you must have a brush and the paint. If you prepare the paint to go and paint and you don't have a brush, you leave the paint to go and look for the brush. If you also come with a brush and you don't have the paint, you'll have to leave the brush and go look for the paint, which is now wasted. So that's why we insist that before you start any project, in this case, any strategy project, make sure that you've checked all your resources, you've done internal analysis, you've done capability analysis, you've done environmental analysis, external and internal, and most likely even global. If you are dealing with a global environment, look at the remote environment. Make sure that by the time you establish the objectives and the mission, the vision, they are based on your capability, so that you don't put objectives and missions that are not achievable. Yesterday we said one of the qualifications of an objective is achievability. Therefore, you must make sure, you must prepare. By the time you formulate the strategy, then that strategy should be able to be supported by the environment, which we call strategic alignment. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you may find yourself implementing a strategy and then changing the strategy midway to fit what is in the environment. So just capture this. We'll make a lot of reference to this as we move on. So this situational analysis, that's step number one, which I talked about. You need to understand where you are, what are you doing, and where you want to go. That's the first journey. Then from there, now you can do environmental analysis, capability analysis, which is here. Look at the external environment, the remote environment, look at the resources, SWOT, and so forth, to be able to make sure that you know exactly where you are and what you have. Once you've done that, then you come to the mission, the vision, and the objectives, which you've already done. We did this yesterday. Mission, vision, objectives, goals, policies. They are very key. Put that in the bag. Then from there now, you go now to strategy formulation. That is the exact part that the strategy is formulated. So we said formulation is designing and developing the company's strategies. So a group of experts must come into sight. There are two ways to do it. You can formulate completely new strategies, which is called formulation, or you can do what is called analysis and choice. If you are not formulating, well, if you formulate, you'll still do analysis and choice because you choose the best out of the strategies you have formulated. But if you are not necessarily formulating a new strategy, you are using strategies that are already in existence, because we talk about diversification, that's a strategy that is in existence. If we talk about retrenchment, that's a strategy. So if you are using diversification, you are not necessarily formulating a new strategy per se, because that strategy is already in practice. Maybe you've never used it, it is now you are using it in your organization, but it's there, it's in literature, it's being applied in organizations and so forth. So a scholar called Mintzberg says that in most of the organizations, there is no generally new strategy formulation. What is common is more about strategic analysis and choice. That is, the strategies are already in industry. You go to industry, evaluate the strategies that are there, do a cost-benefit analysis, choose the best strategy. That is what is called analysis and choice. I think we'll see that. So now, that means that then analysis and choice, the decision that you have to make. That's why I said experts must be there. Based on the objective information, based on rationale, based on reality, what is happening. Generate alternative strategies. We'll see how you can pick that. We've already talked about types of strategies. So we are basically playing between growth strategy, stability strategy, then retrenchment strategy. Those are the corporate strategies. Then select the strategies to pursue. Of course, after analysis, you pick. You always pick the best based on your analysis. And that's why the analysis is very, very important. And then you implement that alternative to see if you're going to achieve what you intended. And then later you do implementation, sorry, not implementation, but review, strategy control, management, and review to see if it's working. So, but our concern mostly is about the formulation. Now, formulation framework is done in 3 steps. We have step 1, which is called the input stage. We have step 2, that is called the matching stage. Then we have stage 3, that is called the decision stage, right? That is the formulation. Inside this is also analysis and choice. So the formulation and the analysis of choice are closely related. They are one and the same thing, and they are always classified under strategy formulation by most scholars. Although some will differentiate and say the first stage is formulation, the next stage is analysis and choice, but it's all the same. As long as both are captured, whether separate, or whether they are the same, they are captured separate or they are captured the same. So under stage number 1, which is called the input stage, you have what we call the IFE matrix. We'll see it. We have what we call the IFE, that is external, internal. Then you have the CPM matrix. And the matching stage, though this one, now this matching now matches with the analysis and extend the analysis that you did in stage number 1. That's where you find SWOT is there, matrix. We also have what we call space matrix, We have what we call internal, external matrix. We also have what we call the grand strategy matrix, and so forth. And then stage number 3, which is the decision stage. Now, this is now where you make a choice after going through this, you know, after this. So you find that the decision stage is the final stage in formulation, analysis, and choice. Once you've gone through the decision stage, then the next stage to go is implementation, right? But for this case, we are not very much concerned about implementation. We are more concerned about formulation, because the implementation in other strategies is almost the same. The evaluation and control is only the same. Maybe the formulation, because the strategies are different. Corporate strategies and business strategies or functional strategies are different. So now I would like us to see what happens in the comprehensive formulation framework. And we are saying that in this framework, we have 3 stages. Stage number 1 is the input information that is needed from analysis. Stage number 2 is matching. You know, you look at the alternative strategies and match them with your capabilities. So it is called matching. And I also talked about strategic alignment. You align the strategy that you are choosing with your environment, which is the internal and the external. And then stage number 3 is a decision now that you make. What are you going to implement? Let me remove this window here. I hope it's not being shared there. Okay, so we move on. Now this stage number 1, which we will not talk very much about, the analysis, what you call external factor evaluation matrix, that is external, internal factor evaluation. That's the first stage in external and internal analysis. We'll just pick, the formulation, because the stage 1 in most strategies is the same. The stage 3 in most strategies is almost the same, but the formulation may be different. So under the strategy formulation is step number 2, which is called the matching. We have around 5 or 6 items. You have the SWOT matrix, which I'm sure you've covered previously. You have the space matrix. You have the BCG matrix. I'm sure you've done a BCG matrix previously. We have the M matrix. We have the grand strategy matrix, which you may also have captured previously. For example, the SWOT matrix, when it was initially invented, was for external analysis, but later it also found very important in internal analysis. It was for internal analysis, but later you find it's also good for external analysis. It was for business strategies, but later you find also in corporate strategies, it is very important. The same to the BCG matrix. Traditionally for business level, functional level, but of late, you find that it is also important in corporate designing and so forth. So we look briefly at each of these strategies, what happens. And then the last stage is the QCM, that is a quantitative planning matrix. That is used now for the choice. So like us now to start the matching stage. And here we are matching the organizational resources with the opportunities, the risks, right? We said previously you've been involved in SWOT analysis. You pick the strengths, you mix them with the opportunities to get meaning of it. Otherwise, if you just do analysis of SWOT just literally, it will have no meaning for the organization. It will only bring competitive advantage if you analyze the strengths and the weaknesses, and then you see how you can be able to gain value. We saw a little bit how you can gain a competitive advantage, I think last week. So based on that, the analysis is not the issue. The issue is how you implement that analysis, because that implementation is what brings a competitive advantage. So SWOT matrix, strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I think you're comfortable with this. So strengths and opportunities are called SO, weaknesses and opportunities are called WO, then strengths and threats are called ST, and then weaknesses and threats are called WT. So if you are a key firm in the industry, you have a lot of strengths. Maybe your strength is your customer base, right? Your strength is a good product, a good service. Then you look at opportunities that have not been invested in. You are looking at opportunities. Opportunities are the businesses that have not been very much ventured in, that are in the industry. So you look at how can we achieve this. Now, the other time we are talking about Ethio Telecom, I think it's the biggest firm there in Addis. You need to confirm that. Now, it may be doing data, it may be doing voice, it may be doing other activities, but maybe there is one aspect, an opportunity that has not been invested in fully, that becomes now an opportunity for that firm. Therefore, it has to look at how to enter into that untapped business. So the strengths, the SO, use firms' internal strengths to take advantage of external opportunities. Then the weaknesses and the opportunities, you improve internal weaknesses. Maybe your weakness is network connectivity. That's a weakness to any mobile telephony. And then you link, to the opportunities. Then the strength, the strength that you have, you use them to reduce the threats. Maybe there are new entrants are threats. So use your strength. Maybe it is a legal framework, or it is a big customer base, or it is a quality service, and so forth. And then, of course, the weaknesses, you defend your weak points, so that the external threats do not catch up with you. Now, number 2 is the space matrix. Now, space matrix analyzes or matches what we call aggressiveness, conservative, defensive, or competitive strategies. Now, this is based on the financial strength and the competitive advantage of the firm. So you need to check what are the financial strengths of the firm and what are the competitive advantages of that firm. Then you compare that. You link that with the dimensions of an environment, which is the environmental stability. If you are in a highly stable environment, then you are very good. And the industry strength, industry strength means if the environment is stable, then firms that have high competitive advantage tend to have what? A lot of strength in the industry. Now, in the industry, we have followers, we have leaders, we have price makers, and so forth. So you need to match properly, For example, when you talk about the financial situation, those are internal dimensions, the finance of the firm. If you compare two firms, one with a high financial position and another one with a low financial position, as we've always said, now the one with a high financial position will be using its own money to do business. The one with a weak financial position is going to borrow, maybe going to debt, right? Or sell shares to be able to raise capital. And that now brings the competitive differences between these two firms. The same to the external dimension. This is outside the firm. We have the environmental position and we have the industry position. If the industry position is high, it means that's a leader. It means the leader can set prices, the leader can set market offerings, the leader can set quality in the industry. The other small firms, they follow what the leader is doing. Maybe steps on how to develop the space matrix. Maybe you can just go through this later. Let's look at this. Now, this is how the space matrix looks like. You have grids based on competitive position, environmental position, These 4 variables we've talked about here. We've talked about financial position, competitive position, environmental position, and industry position. Those are the variables that you use to make the matrix. So you find that if your competitive position is very high, maybe it's around 5 or 6, and your financial position is very high, then what does that mean to the firm? It means that the firm is strong. It means it can go for market development. It can go for product development. And product development is part of diversification. If you are developing a new product that you didn't have before, if the product is related, that is related diversification. If the new product is not related, that is unrelated diversification. Remember, we've also talked about concentric, conglomerate, and so forth. Now, on the other side, you can use a diversification, either related or unrelated. That is, if your financial position is high. On the other side, there you can see you can use okay, that is contract one. You can use market development. You can use diversification, either related or unrelated. Down there on the right, we have what you call backward, forward, horizontal integration. We've come across integration before, product development. On the last part there, based on the competitive position and the position, the market position, you can use defensive. You are more defensive, you know. When you are defensive, remember we talked about stability strategies. It means, you know, it means you are not very, very strong in the industry, and therefore you are not like the aggressive strategy, number one, because the aggressive strategy can go for diversification, can go for integration because it is powerful, right? But when you are defensive, you are trying to be careful in the industry. That's why you find retrenchment, right? You are shedding off, as we saw with retrenchment and the diversity and liquidation, you are shedding off unnecessary business so that you can save the organization. The other one we started with is conservative. Conservative is more stability. You want to, you know, to make sure that there's no much, you are not necessarily growing per se, and you are not going down, right? That's how you may be conservative. But if you are strong in the market, as I said, your financial position is high and your industry position is high, then you can be aggressive. So now this space matrix assists us to know, based on the position of the firm, which strategies we can be able to use. So it's like you go to the supermarket with a trolley. You pass through the shelves, you pick this, you pick this, you pick that, you put it in shelf. You pick this, you pick this, you put it in the shelf. You know, at the end of the day, when you are going to pay, and of course you have a limited budget, of course money is limited, resources are limited. We said resources are rare. Remember the works of Barney and his friends, Barney 2003. Resources are rare, and that is money, one of them. So you'll be making an analysis, which now we'll do later. For example, if you had picked diversification and product development, when you come now to the analysis, you'll compare those two. We'll see that in stage number 3 and see which one can you pick, which one can you implement. If you are competitive, maybe you've taken the market development and integration. Then you further analyze those two strategies through analysis and choice, which is more of a cost-benefit analysis, and then see which one you can be able to choose. Next is our BCG matrix that you know very well, I'm sure. It measures the market share position and industry growth rate. Again, you find market share being there. Now, according to Michael Porter, market share is one of the ways that a firm can derive competitive advantage. If you have a market leader, then you have high competitive advantage. So the BCG matrix, that is the Boston Consulting Group matrix. I'll not go deeper into this because I'm sure you must have covered it in the business level strategies. And I said it is, when it was introduced, it was more business level, but corporate discussion also, cover BCG. So this is how the, okay, I'll just go straight to the sketch there. That is the BCG matrix. It measures relative market share position that can be high, medium, or low against the industry sales growth rate, which can be high, medium, or low. So now in a portfolio, let's say a portfolio of 4 products or products of, variables of 4, you can be able to have, for example, if your relative market share is low and your growth rate is high, that is quadrant 1. You can use market penetration, you can use product development, you can use divestiture. If when you go to quadrant 2, I think they are numbered there, you find that your industry growth rate is very high and your market share position is also high. That means, what can you do? You can do integration, you can do penetration, you can do development, that's product and market development, which is more of diversification. Now, quadrant number 3, if your industry sales growth rate is low, right, but your relative market share position is high, what can you do? Divestment, retrenchment, divestiture. Now, these are rational matrix. It uses rationale, what is happening in the industry. Just think of it this way. If your industrial growth is high, that means you are growing, right? But your relative market share position is high, it means you are doing well. That's why you call it cash cows. You are not investing much, but your investments are bringing money. On the other side, the dogs, this is the time you do retrenchment, you do divestiture, you do liquidation, which is more reducing the scope of the farm. Because the industry growth rate is low and the relative market share position is also low. That means you are not growing the industry, right? You are not growing. And the market share that you have, the percentage is also very low, to the extent that you may not bring a lot of shocks in that industry. So the best thing is to try and maybe leave that industry to the people who are performing well and concentrate on other industries or other markets or other products where you are doing well. That reduces the scope, and therefore that may be bringing losses to the farm. And that's why it is called a retrenchment. So that is a BCG matrix. I think you can study much about that. So under the BCG, you also, like we said in the supermarket, you pick based on your relative position. Pick what you have. Remember, we said a case of complete strategy formulation, whereby you are going to make a strategy that does not exist. But if the strategy exists, as we are seeing in this case, then you are more of doing what? Analysis and choice. That's what we are doing. We are comparing the different strategies that are available based on our ability to implement these strategies. Then from there, we pick one that will be the best to implement. So that is BCG. From there, we go to IE matrix, which is called the internal-external matrix. Remember, this is developed after doing environmental analysis. We've talked about it. I don't want to go back to it much. Now, what happens is that the internal-external matrix is more of an extension of the BCG matrix. It's more intensive. It is a 9-cell display, just like the General Electric, just the Shell, the Dutch matrix, and so forth. So there's more information. When you are making a decision, there's more information you load in the decision, in the analysis and choice stage. Because remember we said the analysis and choice is a rational decision-making stage that is based on rationale. So it requires more information, and because of that, it has 9 cells. So you are talking about the total weighted, okay, we are comparing the internal and the external matrix. So you can put scores based on the performance. Remember we said this is an extension of the BCG matrix. So you can look at the, you can compare between strong, average, weak, low, medium, high, right? Now inside there is, we have quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 9. The other one we had 4 quadrants. It was 2 by 2. This is 3 by 3. That's why they are 9. So under this, you can be able to isolate based on, for example, when you talk about the weighted scores, if they are between strong and average, then they fall on the left side, right? On the other side, if they are between weak and average, they fall on the right side. And then what is left in the middle is what we call what? Stuck in the middle, right? Stuck in the middle means you are a little bit more comfortable. You are more likely, you are more likely to maintain what you have. On my left, this is called the diversification cell, right? It means you grow and build this potential. On my right, where you have scale, where you have cell 6, 8, and 9, you harvest. And you find because it's an extension of the BCG matrix, the strategies are almost the same. On my left, there is backward, forward integration, penetration, because you are growing. You are using growth strategies to build that portfolio. In the middle there, we are holding and maintaining, and that is stability. We are comfortable with what is happening. We are only fighting to make sure that we continue enjoying and milking the cow. We are comfortable. Maybe we don't want to do what is called the arms deal. The arms deal is whereby you may use a lot of money, a lot of resources to hit the big markets, to expand this to go to contract 1 or 2, but you spend so much money that the money you are going to get, the benefits you are going to get, they are either the same or less. And that is the trick here. That's why strategists will say, just hold and maintain there. Because you may go and hit a competitor who is also very powerful, he hits back. So you end up losing, right? For example, one of the cases has been very common is price war. If you put a price war in the market and you are not a market leader, now the market leaders may also reduce their prices. And therefore that continues. It is the customers who benefit at the end of the day and not the farm. That's why it's called the guns and ammunition strategy. So you have to be very careful. You don't spend a lot of money buying the guns, but the guns cannot pay back that money. That's why it is called the hold and maintain, a little bit of that. And then the other side, we have a harvest or divest. We looked at that, retrenchment, divest, and so forth. So based on your relative position, pick what fits you. As you pick, you'll find that if you do the right analysis, you find that the strategies will fall on one side. There'll be no contradiction if you do it properly, especially if you compare with BCG and SWOT. You find that you are always trying to move on certain direction, either through growth strategies, either through stability strategies, or either through retrenchment strategies, if the analysis is properly done. So that is the MA internal external matrix that I was explaining there. There's a lot of theories you can read back there. So this is what I'm explaining. Grow and build, that is the first case. In the middle, hold and maintain. And then down there, divest and harvest or divest, which you've already seen that. And then lastly is the grand strategy matrix, which is called, it's also called the GSSM matrix or the GSM matrix. That is grand strategy selection matrix. The same scenario, but now we are comparing the competitive position and the market growth. Remember in BCG, we are talking about market growth rate, relative market growth rate. But here we are looking at competitive position and the market growth to be able to identify which strategies can we use. And this is how the GSM matrix looks like. I'm sure you've met it before. And as usual, it compares, let me move this a little bit. It compares the competitive position with the market growth. So if you have a very strong competitive position in a rapid market growth, then you have contract one. Those are the options that you can take. Development, penetration, forward integration, related diversification. We've already talked much about these strategies, and you know each, what it is and what happens in it. Now, if you have a weak competitive position, that means you are not a leader. Your position is weak in the market. But you have a rapid market growth rate, then you go to quadrant 2. Penetration, development, divestiture, liquidation. You see now, the strategies are moving towards less aggressiveness. The first one is aggressiveness. Very aggressive because you are strong in the market, and also your rapid growth rate is very high. So you are the king in the market. Under quadrant 3, if you have a slow market growth rate and you have a weak competitive position, it means your strength is less. So you go for retrenchment, diversification, either related or unrelated, divestiture, liquidation. Then lastly, if you have a strong competitive position, but a slow market rate, what do you do? Diversification, you go for joint ventures. We talked about all this. So now again, you are in the supermarket. You choose what you want based on your ability.
በትምህርት ከፍ ብሎ መብረር ይቻላል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅናን ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ዲግሪ ኤምቢኤ በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምቢኤ በባንኪንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ ኤምቢኤ በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ ኤምቢኤ በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ ኤምኤስሲ በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ እና ኢኮኖሚክስ ዘርፎች በእውቀት ለመቅረጽ የበቁ ፕሮፌሰሮቻችን አረንጓዴ መብራታቸውን አብርተዋል። በነገራችን ላይ በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሚመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች የትኩረት መስክ ትምህርቶቹ መሰጠታቸው ልዩ ያደርገናል። በምርጥ የትምህርት ስርዓት የተገነባው ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በመጀመሪያ ዲግሪ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት አስተማማኝ ትምህርት ይገቢውና ራስዎንና ሀገሮን ይለውጡ። አድራሻ 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
Now, we've done the second we've done the second stage, that is the analysis stage. We've looked at what are the strategies that are available so that when we are doing analysis and choice, we can be able to know what we are going to choose based on our availability, based on our ability, based on our resources, based on our capabilities. Maybe discussion a little bit, what challenges to I'm going to put your speaker on for a minute. So that is just to notify you that your speakers are on. We're communicating. You are ready, your speaker is on. I want to put in. Okay, so I'd like you to, now I'm going to unmute all, but now you've got a notification. I would like you to tell me what challenges, what challenges do managers face when they are doing analysis and choice. Well, we've done the analysis. We are here to do the choice. And after this, we are going to do the choice. Step number 3. But what challenges do strategic managers face in the analysis stage? What we've done now. Looking for the SWOT, looking at the strengths and weaknesses, going for the BCG and the extended BCG, GSSM. What might be the challenges? Now, these challenges may be common or within a specific strategy. Yes, Shameless. Yes, Shim. Put your speaker on, please. Put your speaker on, Shameless. Your speaker is off.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Maybe the challenge is like right information about the SWOT analysis. So maybe scarce information. This is one of the challenge regarding to information. The other maybe skill or knowledge or capable person. This might be a key challenges they might face during their first phase.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. That's a challenge. Samuel, your hand is up. Samuel, your hand is up, please.
Yes. Okay. Like Shimi mentioned, I think he raised the points I was trying also to raise. But in addition to that, probably there could be some other points. Like when we start to compile even the information, like Shimelis mentioned, there could be a lack of knowledge or something. But then there is also a kind of a challenge from the leadership or from somewhere, a lack of cooperation. For instance, like some part of the corporate, the company or the business might need or might be pushing towards the formation of a strategic management, strategic plan, but there may also be a leadership, part of the leadership that opposite, which is more difficult to face, because any ordinary employee can object a strategic plan, but coming from other leadership, such kind of opposition, I think is really going to be difficult. It makes hard even for the thing to go on.
All right, sure. Another comment, please, from another participant. What challenges what they have said is very, very correct. You know, these are key challenges that will face, you know, the management, the strategists, when they are doing the, you know, that process of identifying which are the strategies. But also something else that you'll find as, for example, when you look at the GSSM matrix, it has all the strategies, around 25, I think, 20 or 25 strategies, right? And then when you come to the IME matrix, it is again has also all those strategies. I think these are key problem that the management may face, because it's like we're just rotating around the same strategies. And these are the strategies that, you know, Ms. Berg says that, you know, all these strategies are already there. Most of these strategies are already there. So as much as we are looking at formulation, we may not necessarily be formulating any completely new strategy, because the strategies are there. So we may necessarily just go to strategic analysis and choice, you know. Look at the studies that are there, compare them, do a matrix, and then see. Because if you go again you go back backwards and look at, that was BCG, you find the same strategies. If you go back to the space matrix, all the strategies, over 20 strategies are there, you know. So we are basically just trying to, you know, just trying to make sure that we are, you know, we are analyzing what is there. But in case, and just in case, the management come up with a strategy that is not necessarily here, or they adjust any strategy that is here so that it does not necessarily like the original strategy, then you can talk about formulation, right? You can talk about real formulation because now you are coming up with something new. But as long as though the strategies are listed here, then we'll more go to analysis and choice and not necessarily the formulation stage. So now that was stage number 2. Now we go to choice now. How do you choose? You've gone to the supermarket, you've collected so many things. Maybe you had gone to buy a certain product. There are several. This one captured by BCG, by IME, by SPACE, by this. How do you select the best? Because remember, you can't implement all of them. You can't implement many of them. Sometimes you may find that the farm having 2 or 3 strategies, but not always possible because implementation of strategies needs a lot of resources. And sometimes some strategies are conflicting. So you may not have one for growth and then another one, unless it's departmental. If it's departmental, you can have conflicting. But in the overall performance of the farm, you can't have 2 conflicting corporate strategies. It's going to mess. So now the decision stage, now what do we choose? Is done using the QSPM matrix. That is the quantitative strategic planning matrix. So these are techniques that is designed to determine the relative attractiveness of feasible alternative actions. So the strategies you've gone to the supermarket, you have collected, you are going to, put them in an attractiveness scale and gauge them and see which is the best out of that, which is the most feasible. Remember again, when you go to introduction to strategy, you know that a strategy must be feasible, the strategy must be implementable, the strategy must be cost effective, the strategy must lead to strategic analysis and so forth. But this one checks on the attractiveness, because remember the overall design of the strategy is to bring competitive advantage. Now the strategies that are most attractive and most feasible are the ones that are going to bring increased competitive advantage, or basically increased performance of the farm. So this analytical technique that is designed, as I was explaining, to, after doing stage 1 and 2, after doing the analysis, now you bring in the QSM to be able to identify which is the best strategy. And this is how it works. Just go to the matrix. This is how it works, the QSM-PM, the QSPM matrix. It's more of a cost-benefit analysis matrix again. So you've gone through stage 2 and you have picked several strategies there, right? You have strategy 1, maybe diversification, or maybe you talk related diversification, step number 2, and related diversification, stage number 3, retrenchment, so forth. Then you need to give weights. Remember, this is based on rationale. You look at all the key internal factors and all the key external factors, and then pass each of these strategies and give them weights, right? Give them weight based on your knowledge. For example, if it's economy, how does a strategy, if it's strategy 1, how does it, how does it affect the economy? Positive, negative. If it is positive, what weight? Weights can range from 0 to 10 or 0 to 1. It's your choice. At the end of the day, relative analysis based on weight is just a way of showing which is more important than the other. It may not have a direct numerical value. The value is just either good, better, best. So now, you start with the economy. How does it affect? Strategy 1, strategy 2, how does it affect? You give a weight there. You come to the political or legal. How does it affect? What are the implications of that strategy? Give a weight there. Come to social cultural, social cultural variable. Now, you see when you are giving these weights, the weights will be done by the specialist in strategy based on the relative importance. For example, if you are doing a strategy in Addis, another person is doing it in Accra, another one is doing it in Cairo, the weights might be different. They will actually be different. Because the economic setup in Addis, the economic setup in Accra, the economic setup in Ghana is different. So you can't put the same weight unless they are the same, right? So you need to choose which is the most important now. The weights are based on, they are based on the relative advantage or the relative force that variable has. For example, finance. If we could look at finance, depending on that, maybe finance and accounting can have a lot of weight. It can have more weight than maybe social cultural. In other words, you may look at what will be the margin of contribution of this product. Maybe it's a mobile phone like this, mine, you want to introduce to the market. Social cultural variables may have very little weight because this phone can be used for all types of people. Muslims, Christians, pagans, also those who don't believe in anything. That becomes a social cultural variable. So the weight will be very low, be very minimal. But when it comes to finance and accounting, you give a big weight because you are looking at a target market, right? So you put all that for each and every variable in that each and every strategy, and then you sum up. You sum up and get the totals here. You get them down here. Now, once you get them down here, you'll be able to know which is the strategy that is giving you the biggest combination, right? Which strategy is giving you the biggest combination? We expect if you've done the analysis well, then you'll get 1, 2, 3, arrange in that order. Maybe strategy 2 give the biggest expected margins. Strategy 3, second best. Strategy 1, last best. But now sometimes the strategies tie. You may find strategy number 1 and strategy number 2 have tied, right? They have tied the score. And if they have tied the score, you still have to go back to those two strategies, reanalyze them again, and see which one is best. You can go back to the addition and subtraction and see whether it was done well. Maybe that's where the problem was. You may check on the weighting, whether it was done properly. But at the end of the day, you should be able to get a strategy that can be able to be implemented. But don't throw this away. You keep it. If strategy number 3 was the best and you implemented it and it's not working, there are options. You go back to the second best option. There's a possibility for that if the first option is not working, or you can go back to the beginning and start drawing your strategies again. Go back to environmental analysis. Maybe environmental analysis was not properly done. That is why you find you ended up implementing your own strategy. So that is how you do it. And then after that, now you start thinking of this is the way to develop the QSM, which I've explained, no problem with that. So based on that now, you pick the best based on your analysis. And then you plan to implement the best. Now the next decision after this is implementation. And I'm going to put your microphones open. I hope we are still together. putting all your mics open to notify you. I'm putting all your mics open to notify you. Right? Then I'm muting all of them, notifying you. And then I ask you, what factors affect strategic choice and implementation? What factors affect strategic choice? What we are doing, okay, you can talk about strategy formulation and analysis and choice. I think that's the correct way. Strategy analysis and strategy choice. What factors affect strategy analysis and strategy choice? That's my question. As for discussion, what these factors are. Yes. Hello? Shimilas, you're already on.
To my opinion, the
Yes.
factors that affect the choice of strategies, one, really practicability. Does it be implemented? Is it possible to practically implement that strategy? This is the number one. The other one is still like what I said, when we choose the strategy, we should see our environment. The other is our capability and our position. So this is the key factors that maybe like taken as a factor for our strategy choice.
Yeah, sure. Another case, your hand is up, please, Samuel. Samuel, are you hearing me?
I think, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay.
go on.
I think two more I could add. Yeah, okay. The factors that can affect our choice of strategy choice would be like the first one I would say is the market. I mean, looking at the market where we are, it really has an effect of what kind of strategy we should be following, who the target market is, the audience and all. And second, also competition also has a big factor. Like our competitors to choose a kind of one or the other type of strategy would affect our choice. So I think I would add two of this to what Shmelis has said. So these also are factors that can affect it.
Another person, maybe add some more. Okay, what you said is very true. These are among factors that affect strategy choice. Very, very important. Because these factors, we've seen a lot of it in our discussion. We have come through all this already in our discussion. When you are doing the analysis and choice, these are issues that you consider. Very, very important. Because, for example, if you talk about the market, we've seen a relative market share and relative market growth. If you are not growing, you cannot use a very aggressive strategy in the market. So the market will determine, right? In addition to that, there are also other factors like the management attitude. For example, if the two strategies tie, when you do the QPSM matrix and two strategies tie the score, then you look at the manager's attitude. The management is very important because we expect they are professionals in the field, you know. So you need to look at the risk return option, holding other factors constant. If the management are risk averse, then they will take the risk averse strategy between the two. If the management are risk takers, they are going to take the most risky strategy. And remember, you know, this relationship between risk and return, right? Again, there is what we call the real option theory. If the future is very uncertain, then what does that mean? As compared to if the future is very certain. If the future is very certain, then you can pick a straightforward strategy. But if the future is not very certain, then again, management attitude must be used to assist in coming up or picking the best strategy. Then very important, we have also the pressure from the stakeholders. That's why you find organizations having annual general meetings every year. The management sell to the shareholders the strategies that they want to derive competitiveness with. And shareholders are going to decide. They vote. Sometimes they vote, and give the management the authority. So it is very hard for management to implement a strategy without the authorities of the shareholders. If it backfires, the management will be held up responsible. If it succeeds, the shareholders will be very happy. But the challenge is if management do what is called a strategic blunder by implementing a strategy without proper consultation of all the stakeholders. Of course, we don't expect that. We don't expect managers to behave that because of corporate governance practices. We'll be talking about this later. That managers are bound by the shareholders. Therefore, the shareholders are not equally, but they are more powerful than the management because it is their investment that is in debate. And therefore, pressure from the shareholders becomes very, very important in making that decision. Then we also have pressure from corporate culture. What is the culture of the organization? How do they do? We talked about values and all this. We should have also added culture, norms, our beliefs in the organization. They are also very, very important. What the firm has been doing, it is more likely to continue doing the same thing. Because we say the corporate culture is the life and the way the organization lives. So if the organization has been moving towards a certain alignment, some organizations align towards some markets, or they align themselves towards some products. So if a decision is to be made, they are more likely to stick within their corporate culture. You've seen, for example, most Asian-owned farms, most Asian family-owned farms, they tend to trade more inside than trading outside. That's their culture. Even when they are looking for the shareholders, they look for internal, in quote, shareholders. That's their culture, right? If they are looking to invest or to diversify, they will be very well comfortable diversifying within a certain margin, and that becomes the organizational culture. So firms tend to maintain the organizational culture when they are making, choosing strategies and implementing these decisions. I think that's captured there. Process of strategic choice, I think. Now, after that, now we've finished, we've picked our strategy, then we go for strategy implementation. And implementation is putting it in practice. Remember, all this is paper. And once implementation is over, we go to, okay, what are the main steps in the implementation process? Maybe just a few. Coming at, looking at where the resources and where the cost centers, where the activities, put resources. Creating policies. We talked about policy the other day. Policies assist in implementation. From today, we are going to do this. That's finished. That's business. That means we cannot go to the word policy. Looking at programs that can be able to run to support the implementation. Linking the structure of the organization and the reward to the implemented strategy. Making use of strategic leadership. And that's why now the top leadership comes in to guide the organization in the new strategy and so forth. There's much about, okay, there's differences here between implementation, formulation and implementation, very, 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 very important. Why they are different. For example, implementation is about effectiveness. Implementation is about efficiency. Formulation is a rational decision. We said when you are choosing a strategy, market penetration, diversification, retrenchment, rationale. You know, it's about rationale. But implementation is not about rationale. It's administration, you know. The strategy has been accepted by the management. It has been accepted by the shareholders. So you just implement it. There's no negotiation. You know, you can negotiate in strategy formulation, what you want and how you want it. But once the management have passed, the shareholders have passed it, implemented without any questions. You know, it's an execution process, you know. In strategy formulation, you are planning first before the action. You know, in implementation, you are managing the force during the action because now you are it's operationalization. Implementation is operationalization. Strategy formulation, there's a lot of stakeholder analysis and stakeholder massaging and stakeholder engagement. When it comes to implementation, there is no massaging of the people. You know, implementation must go on without any discussion. Plus many more differences here and similarities. I think you can go through all this, much of this. You see there are many here, yes, they're also here. Strategy formulation is more of an entrepreneurial activity, you know. Implementation is administrative. Strategy formulation requires coordination among people. Strategy formulation requires initiative and logical skills. As we said, the people who make the strategies must be professionals. Strategy formulation comes before implementation. On the other side, implementation is about leadership traits. You know, it's about coordination among the people who are doing the implementation and so forth. Once implementation is over, then we go to monitoring, evaluation, and control, which is the final step. Just to measure and see, is this strategy working? And this is the point now I was saying that, you know, if it's not working, you must find out why it is not working. Either you don't implement properly, because a good strategy, not properly implemented, the result is failure, right? If you implemented the wrong strategy, the result is failure. No. Remember our corporate, we talked about corporate restructuring and we talked about turnaround management. It's either continued failure, terminal decline, or a turnaround. And that's what we are talking about here. If you implement the strategy, you expect at least any of those three. If you do it right, turnaround. That is now the performance comes in. If you don't do it in the right way, continued decline. If that continued decline continues, it goes to terminal decline, which is death of the organization. So in this case, you have to review the performance based on the expectations. That's what monitoring, evaluation, and control is all about. In case that is managing performance against the expectations are the objectives. If it's not working, then you take corrective action, you know, by trying to see where the problem is and then fix it. Once you fix that, then everything should be all right. It should work. Now, thank you very much. I need to open the session for questions. I'm putting all your microphones on to tell you that you are online, right? So any question about strategy formulation? Any question? Any question? Yes, Concha. Concha, could you speak on, please? Concha? Please put your speaker on. You are off. Ponji, your speaker is off. Yes, on, right. Hello? Can't get you, please. This connection problem.
And I want you to suggest, sorry.
Hello, can't get you. Please check your connection. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hello?
Yes.
My question is, can you suggest where can we find information to prepare the analysis?
Information to prepare the analysis.
Yes.
That is the strategic analysis, stage number 2.
Can you suggest where?
I'm not getting you clearly. You are saying the analysis, that is stage number 2. That's stage number 2? Hello?
Shall I write it?
Yes, please write, because there is a connection. I think the connection is a problem there. Yes, another question? Another question, please. About our action today. Any question? Any question? Any question? No. What can you see my screen? I think it's still sharing. Can you see?
Yes,
Samrawit? Can see my screen? Now, this is the last thing that I was explaining there. I was saying that you can see evaluation and control, then there is a feedback. Now that feedback means you can go back to implementation and see whether you chose the right one. You can go back to the analysis and choice. You see whether you did it right. You can go to objectives and find whether you chose the best one. You can go to environmental analysis and check whether you found it right, you got it right, or you can go back to the drawing board, that is the situational analysis, to confirm that you did the right situational analysis. That is what is called now the feedback that comes after evaluation and control, and then get corrective action to be able to fix that. So another question, please. Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? I need to answer your questions here. Any question, please? Any question? Any question? No question today? Yes, no question, please.
There is one question in the text in the chat.
Yes. Yes. Oh, okay. Let me see the chat. Okay, let me stop this. don't think you need the sharing. Sharing, all right. Okay, which comes first, corporate structuring or strategy formulation? This from you. Okay, as a question to the class, which comes first, corporate restructuring or strategy formulation? Class, please. Which comes first, corporate restructuring or strategy formulation? Yes, who can take us through this? We've already covered part of this. Yes, Shimala.
Actually, formulation comes first, because restructuring is that during our implementation of our formulated strategy, it depends of which one, how to implement, whether, because already we have formulated our strategy, so during implementation, shall you use that the existing strategy restructure, or shall you restructure? That is during implementation it comes. So first formulation, then during implementation, we might ask to continue the existed structure, or if it is necessary, we restructure it. So the first one is formulation.
All right. Samuel, your hand is up.
Oh,
Samuel.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Already Shimelis has covered what I wanted to say. He has put it correctly. We cannot implement something we haven't planned for. So, and the planning depends on the strategies we want to implement, how we want to do it. So I think even I concur with Shimel's idea that we have to do the planning, then the implementation comes later on.
Yes, sure. Planning comes first. And even before you go to planning, you know, this business of strategy management is a business of identifying the problem that the firm is facing and then sorting it. Now, you cannot start sorting until you've understood the problem well. That's why now analysis comes first, situational analysis, come to formulation, come to analysis. And if the solution will be found in retrenchment strategies, which is restructuring, then be it. Because not every organization will need restructuring. Some organization will need divestment. Others will need stability. Don't do anything, just maintain. Others will need growth strategy. So you employ growth strategy and so forth. So very true. Formulation comes first, and then implementation. Because when you're talking about restructuring, that's implementation. Implementation comes later, which is true.